Pregame.com.
Falcons plus 6.5 at New Orleans, Monday Night Football. All right, VR, I wanted you for this video because New Orleans has become like your pet team. I know you were, a couple years ago you were killing it down there at Blackjack, so you spent a lot of time down on Bourbon Street.
Had New Orleans as a future to win the Super Bowl with you. You had that ticket too.
I did, actually, I did. And so first take, right now, with Vegas rankings, which you take part in on the Pro Better side, where we rank the best teams, and that's based on Pro Better feedback and sportsbook feedback, sportsbook manager or bookmaker feedback, has New Orleans as clearly the third best team in football. Green Bay, New England, New Orleans. In general, give us your take, 60 seconds on the team this year heading into Week 16.
I have New Orleans as the second best team in football. I'd make them a slight favorite over New England on a neutral, and I'd make Green Bay less than a field goal on a neutral against New Orleans. I think they're very closer match than a lot of people give New Orleans credit
for.
So
you probably, your number on New Orleans is a little bit higher than the average number.
Exactly. I know most have them probably within 3.5 or 4 points of Green Bay. I have.
So other than your love for beignets, is that
beignets, Cafe Du Monde and Cafe Beignet.
What's driving your opinion on
number
that?
one, this team's done it before. You have a quarterback that's gotten there before and has won it before. You have a coach who's done the same. And more importantly, here's a team that continues to go out and fill in those weaknesses. Last year, their biggest problem was turnovers. Breeze threw a lot of interceptions, which he's not that type of quarterback. The reason was simple. Teams just dropped back in coverage. They weren't able to rush the football. They were the worst rushing team in the NFL, or at least the worst two in the league. What did they do? Now they have a three-headed monster in the backfield. That's a problem they went out and solved during the offseason. And so that's what I liked about this team. So you're saying
the quality core has been augmented with skills that they were short of.
Exactly.
It's a better team.
Exactly. And they're the kind of team that doesn't get enough credit defensively. And I think they're a very aggressive defense that, given a reason to play, they're a dangerous group. But when you have an offense that's potent, you tend to relax a little bit. I think we've seen that with Green Bay. Everyone says how teams have success throwing the ball against them. Well, when you're up 35, you're going to be in the prevent, and teams are going to have success getting yardage thrown against you.
So you said when they have something to play for, because New Orleans seems to be more susceptible to a letdown than a lot of good teams.
Right, meaning when they have something to play for. When they was in a tight game, when they played Tennessee, and it was one.
So you're not talking about just being flat for an entire game.
No, not a must-win game or that kind of circumstance. I mean when they're in a game where the offense isn't carrying the load.
So you're saying if the yard per play was looked at any time the game was within 10 points either way, they're going to rank better than they do in the general stats.
Exactly. And that's why I think they don't get the credit they deserve, and I think that's where they're going to sneak up on people.
In general, it seems like New Orleans has been gaining momentum. Would you say right now, with your power number, are they as good as they've been the entire year, or has there been a point where you thought they were better than now?
I thought they were better. I think they're better than I had them early in the season.
So this is their high point right now.
Yeah, because they've been able to take what's on paper and have it, translate into success on the field. You could grab two good running backs. You could draft an ex-Heisman Trophy winner, but that doesn't mean he's going to get into your system and have success running the ball. And yet, you look at their rushing, they're running the ball with anyone else in the league. So to me, that's better than I expected coming in. I didn't know if Sproles was going to be, he's a good acquisition, but will he fit into that system? Taking over for Reggie Bush.
You're saying the point you're making about how they've improved required a type of transition, which required some time to get them integrated.
Because they're such an offensive machine that, if you change anything on the offense, you got to hope it's going to work. You don't want any kind of wrench thrown into that offense because it is so efficient. Now what's evolved? You have, Graham, who's best tight end in all of football. Well, no one was talking about him before the season started, that this guy's, the best tight end in football.
Or one of the best. All right.
Yeah, he's up there.
Let's look at the Atlanta side. It strikes me, and we talk about this a lot on the Friday podcast, in which, just to let you guys know that don't know, is Brian Leonard and Chris Andrews, who's a 30-year-plus bookmaker, and he's with Cal Neva now. We do a podcast in the morning.
I listen to it every week.
You contribute, and sometimes you get your little shout-outs, in which we break down Colin Cowherd's 5 best picks, and it helps me prepare to be on Colin's show at 12:45 every Friday. Is one of the things we talk about is 16 games even isn't enough to often know how good a team is. If the difference is between 10-6 and 8-8 is 2 games, you see it year after year. 3 or 4 years ago, Miami Dolphins ended up, I think, 10-6, and it was like, oh, they're great. But it's they had an easier schedule, got a break or two. 7-9 or 8-8 becomes 10-6. Tampa Bay last year, everyone said, oh, they're ready to take a step up. But their over and under for wins, if I recall correctly, was 7.5.
Right.
And it's wait a minute, they won 10 last year. They were a young team. In theory, they're supposed to get better. Now it's 7.5. But it looks like,
and there were fundamental reasons for that. They had the easiest schedule last year. They didn't play a
So what I'm saying is, even over the course of 16 games, the record to go against Bill Parcells, it's not always your record is what you are what your records say you are. So certainly, if it can happen over 16 games, it can happen over 4 or 5 games. Personally, I look at this Atlanta, and I think this is a team that not that long ago, people were saying, I'm not sure why they've regressed, but they've certainly regressed. Now, it seems like in general a good month or whatever you want to call it, and now it's almost like back, well, this is what, I heard Mike and Mike talking about this, this is the team that we thought we were going to get at the beginning of the year. Is that the case, or is it that the quirkiness of just a handful of games and the toughness of the schedule and the home road and all the factors that can make a team win when they should lose and lose when they should win? How good is Atlanta to you right now? Are they much better than they were 6 weeks ago in your mind?
I think they're peaking at the right time, heading into the postseason. So
you're calling it peaking, which implies that they justifiably are better. So you don't think it's as much circumstantial playing poor teams?
I expected a huge regression from last year because they came out of nowhere and they had a lot of luck in the turnover department. I didn't think, as efficient of a quarterback as Ryan is, I didn't think he could maintain that level of turnover ratio to touchdowns year in and year out. And last year he just did such an amazing job of not turning the ball over. And when you look at their turnover margin coming into the season, they did better than the 50-50 coin flip on fumbles. So when a team, has that kind of turnover margin, it explains why they did so well, not just straight up, but also against the spread last year. I expected a regression. Now, they had something to play for week in and week out because New Orleans is a dominant team, and that's who you want to overtake in the division. So you shouldn't really have any flat spots as long as New Orleans is winning. So I saw they were just having some kind of more fundamental problem in the middle of the season, weren't running the ball well. They weren't the team you expected. It was kind of like they were trying to find their identity.
So do you feel like that has changed, tangibly changed?
I think they now have found their identity.
Right. I'm not sure I agree with that. And what I'm going to do is give a pick here is the fact that we're getting this below a touchdown means this isn't a big pick for me. And again, Monday night is typically a recreational play. It's amount of money, whatever that number is, where it doesn't hurt when you lose, but it's nice when you win. I think you lay the points here. That's going to be my official pick. And to me, 7's the key number. We're laying less than 7.
Don't you recommend that if they're going to bet New Orleans, they do it now? Because not only are there NFL games, but there's going to be bowl games that will be pending live parlays, live teasers on Monday night.
You are the number one guy I've ever come across when it comes to reading the betting market. So when you say that, it makes me listen. But I'll tell you this, is I've never seen a run in the last month of the NFL where the public money was ignored like recently.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
It's literally, I think there was one game last week out of 7 So I'll give you the stats real quick. The prior 2 weeks, not this last Sunday, there were 15 games, 8 one week, 7 one week, in which there was more than 70% on one side. In all 15 games, not one time, 0 times did the line move with the action. Literally, it was 15 out of 15. It either stayed the same or went the opposite way. Now, we all know when it goes the opposite way, it's because the wise guys are on the other side. So the wise guys haven't been on the same side as the public even once. And then, even when the wise guys are neutral and the public's on one side, they're not moving the line this year.
But I think the reasoning for that is simple. That not only are the books being a little more aggressive, they're having better luck, better results. A few years back, I have to forget what year it was, when favorites in the NFL covered 60-something%. They were moving those numbers.
And is it that, or, and this is a whole other podcast, and we should do it, is it the fact that the what do we want to call them? The Nancy-Pansy books. Maybe we'll come up with a better word. But the Nancy-Pansies out there are sitting there saying we're never going to be more than in the far end of a range. If the range is 7.5 and 8, we're going to be 7.5 or 8. You know, I don't know where we're going to be because it's going to be based on our action so far. But we're never going to 7. We're never going to 8.5 because we don't get the balls
to have an opinion like that.
We don't ever, even if we're 80-10 or 80-20, and we hate being lopsided because all we want to do is book that, dance the vig, as they say. They will not go off that. So now the question is if it's Pinnacle, Greek, Chris, whoever it is, and it's all three of them, and then, you know, Grande or whatever, that are saying we're going to set the market because we're the one taking $50,000 or whatever else. They are saying, since they're willing to take the exposure and say, yeah, we'll take a coin flip at 10 to 11.
Sure.
Right? Because we've got enough bank to go, 2 out of 14 and be fine with it. Because we're gamblers. We're not accountants like you are.
Right.
But
we're bookmakers, not bookkeepers.
That's a good one. But think about it. Since the Nancy Pansy books are unwilling to take a stand anyway, no matter what, then bookmaker and the other sharp books' willingness to take the coin flips is forcing the other books to take the coin flips.
Do the same, and they're just following that lead. And that makes sense. They did it with moving lines on air for so many. I mean, before that was unheard of. You didn't move a line until someone bet into you. And all of a sudden, they said, we're just going to follow what the big books are doing and move it on air. So that makes sense that they're willing to say, if these guys are willing to take the coin flip at 11 to 10,
but they're saying
why won't we do it?
No, I don't think it's that. I don't think they're consciously saying we're willing to do it. I think because that's the thing. They've got to report to upstairs. And if they have a losing week, people, I've talked to the guys that say they're thinking about it daily, not weekly or monthly. I'm saying they don't have, because think about it. If bookmaker is at -4, and it's 85% on the favorite, and it opened up at 4, so they haven't moved it, all right? And there's no wise guy action the other way. They're just saying, we think this is the right line. If you want to do a coin flip with us at 10 to 11, go ahead. That's what they're saying. What is, let's Mamsy-Pamsy book, whatever their name is, what's their choice? They either got to take the same lopsided action, or they got to be willing to
5.5 and say
to have an offline.
That's a dead number, whatever. But put it at a number where it matters, and let guys come in and give them balance and limit their exposure.
Because they're scared of that.
Open their risk at a middle.
But they're scared of that because when they get middled or when
whatever,
that's the
worst.
Then upstairs says, wait a minute, everyone else had 4 and you had 5.5.
I agree. The game's changed for sure.
They're being held hostage by how Nancy-Pansy they are. Personally, I always want to beat the bookie. But I despise bookies that are bookkeepers. And there's nothing more. I had this guy in Pittsburgh back in the day. If you won for 2 weeks in a row, he was mad. It's like he's driving a Cadillac, but if you win for 2 weeks in a row, you're mad. And you get these math guys. But the funny thing is they act like they're math guys. They don't know math. They get a degree from some small school. Yeah, they're probably in the 90th percentile of intelligence, but they act like they're math guys. They're not math guys. They just know how to act.
Yeah, NASA's not knocking on your door.
Yeah, I mean, but they act like it's like, well, we're doing it by percentage. Yeah, you're doing it because you're taking 11 to 10.
I agree.
And to me, to see Billy or whoever pull these guys around like
yeah,
the puppets.
the puppet
It's
master.
hilarious.
It is.
And I got to be honest, I'm on Billy's side.
I am too. He could phony him up all day long for all I care, like he says.
All right, guys. Now it's your turn to continue the conversation. Now every Monday we have a special little treat is in our super thread, and we have all of our videos for each week in one super thread. You can go to pregamevideos.com and check that out. Now for all the videos, you can ask. You see the notes. So here's the notes that VR's got.
Always prepared.
They're always there. You can actually see those notes that he's going to post up. There'll probably be some misspellings. Let's be honest. It's not your strong suit.
It is what it is.
But then you can ask questions. Did you agree with this, disagree with that? You can ask those questions. But on Monday, it's special. Pick the score of the Monday night game, and if you get it exactly right, you get $100 pregame dollars for free to spend any way you want. It's a free roll, no obligation. All you got to do is reply to the thread, pregamevideos.com. Talk to you there.